This month, Streaming Things is brought to you by Chester Copperpot, Stanton Valentino, Wendy O'Laughlin, Jason Hawkins, Matthew Amerson, Trey Barrera, Conrad, Luke and Sarah, David Malfara, Kaylee Sampson, Rabbit Dog and a Barbie Car, Jose Ruben Cruz Rodriguez, Thomas Alexander, Emmy, Joe Velez, Abby Vollmer, Valerie, Aaron Layton, John Collins, Sun Loving Mortal, Andrew Gray, Jen Robinson, Kate, Chloe Richardson, Kalisha Reeves, Kiki Newton, Kevin Strother, Jeanette Murphy, Casey McCain, and Enza.
Welcome back. My name is Chris.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Streaming Things. This time, we're covering The Silence of the Lambs from 1991. They're silent. They're not quiet, Steve.
Well, yeah, I was saying, shh, be quiet.
Yeah, lambs. Mm-hmm. With the amount of...
You know how lambs be.
This is one of our Patreon demanded movies. At a specific tier, you get to mandate that we cover a certain movie here on the podcast. And this one's from Aaron, is it not?
Aaron Layton, it sure is.
Old school Aaron L., our friend from way, way back, demanded that we watch The Silence of the Lambs. But he also had another special request that we get a certain special guest. Unfortunately, however, he's here.
It's Andy.
Fortunately, I'm here.
Andy's back.
Hi, friend.
Hey, Andy.
Oh, I missed you guys.
Where have you been?
Dude, it was so hard for me not to jump in with, my name's Chris. I'm Andy.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Like, I like Steve's shtick of leaving it to be a couple seconds longer a surprise, but I'm also disappointed in a way that we didn't get to, I'm Andy, you know?
And we can redo it right now.
Yeah.
Just for everybody's, now that you know, surprise has been given.
Yeah, let's all take it back to one, everybody, okay?
Now you're seeing some behind the scenes shit of how I really gather myself and start. It goes like this.
Take two.
Welcome back. My name is Chris.
I'm it.
Yeah,
That was
did
a
it
joke.
right.
No, no.
Take three.
I swear this never happens.
Welcome back. My name is Chris.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Steve.
And this is the way it's supposed to sound.
Oh, that sounded so good.
Reunited and it feels so good.
Our Yellow Jackets listeners that were like, who the fuck is Andy?
Who the is Andy?
Andy was my co-host
Yeah.
for the 6 years prior to Yellow Jackets or whatever,
Long
5
time.
years. Mm-hmm. How have you been, buddy? How's life been?
Really good, man. Really good. Just more me time. I had none. Now I have a little. And it's pretty nice, you know? Just catching up, man. Just like catching up on being a human being has been fucking phenomenal. And I've been listening to some of your guys' stuff. I don't watch Yellow Jackets, or at least not yet. So I'm like not watching those.
A lot of people don't.
What I have been watching, you guys are still crushing it without me. So you're doing wonderful things. And
buddy.
I think I made the right choice. You guys are growing the show in a way that wouldn't have worked out if I had continually been like, yeah, I can't this week, guys. You know, so.
Well, we still miss you.
And I'm happy to be back, though.
It's so good to have you here.
So good, and you're going to be here. And anytime we really need you, I feel like we can put up the Andy signal in the sky, and you'll come a calling.
Yeah, you know.
What is it, like a 6-pack of craft beer is the symbol?
It's a smoked brisket.
I have been doing a lot of barbecue. You guys got to try my food sometime. It's really good.
Give me them ribs, Daddy.
Yeah, man.
I would love to try your BBQ, my friend. I would love to try it. You know,
to our audio only listeners, I think it's just like, dang, Steve is talking a lot this episode.
oh yeah.
I miss the days when people couldn't tell us apart, which still blows my mind.
I know. I don't hear it. But maybe it's because I see your mouths moving. You know, let me close my eyes. I've done this before. This whole bit.
And I'm Andy.
And I'm Steve.
Still, it's nothing. Yeah. It's not happening.
But it's my voice.
I've known you since you were 10.
Right, for real.
You know?
Yeah,
and that's
same.
on a personal note, you know, the show's doing great. Everything's going well. I got like this whole TikTok thing going on. I'm flying to movie premieres, but it feels weird, you know, because I've done everything creatively in my entire life has been done with you, Andy, you know? So there's a part of it, even though it's successful and it's going well, it just feels weird.
Yeah,
you know?
I get that.
Co-written, co-directed, co-hosted, lost a bunch of money.
Yeah, man.
Every time. Andy.
You will note that you're making some money now and I'm not here. So, maybe.
You were holding us down, man.
But hey, you still got the music and I'll always write for you guys whenever you need it. So.
We do need the music every time.
Yeah, again, some of you Yellow Jackets fans that maybe weren't privy to our old episodes with Andy does all our music. So if you like jamming out to all them jams, that's Mr. Jam Master Flex over there right now.
Including that sick-ass new heavy metal riff on, it's grungy, but it's kind of heavy too. It's drop D, right?
Yeah.
On the Yellow Jackets intro. That's Andy as well. So,
yes, sir.
Which, by the way, it slaps so hard. I wish that was just our show's music.
You joke, but actually, this might be too inside baseball and maybe a conversation we should have after the episode stops airing. But I was going to tell you when Yellow Jackets ends, that becomes our theme.
Okay.
Really? It's so good. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, weird. It was not a joke. I just felt a little sheepish about suggesting it.
No, because and it matches up so well with the graphics I have on the show.
Dude, those are so cool. This is fucking crazy, man.
The studio?
I know, the
it
studio.
looks so cool in here now.
Last time you were here, we didn't have any any lights or
none of this shit.
None of these mics and all the computers
You got
set
your
up
little
and everything.
fucking cockpit over here, dude.
Yeah.
Plus, there's
awesome.
computers.
Yeah.
It was a cockpit joke. Get it out there, Steve.
Sorry.
He calls it a sarlacc.
You will be slowly digested over 1,000 years.
Who wants to be Boba Fett? Here it comes. Did you do a Wilhelm scream on your cock?
I should put the Wilhelm scream on the soundboard.
Dude, for
I'm
real.
kind of bummed I haven't thought of that yet.
Yeah.
Now you have. Now you have.
Wilhelm
With the magic of
soundboard.
editing, you will have. But we're here to talk about Aaron's Choice, The Silence of the Lambs, 1991, directed by Jonathan Demme, starring, of course, Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins, the creepy guy, a bunch of good stuff.
The creepy guy. That's his legal name.
He went on to become
The C guy.
He went on to become the detective in The Fast and the Furious.
Are you talking about Ted Levine?
Yes.
Oh. Buffalo Bill, right? That's who you're considering the creepy guy? Okay. Because there are a lot of creepy dudes in this movie.
Yes.
So
That's fair. I'd say, yeah, you're right. In fact, literally every man.
Yep. All of them. Yep.
Which, by the way, let's talk about this. So the way we do the show, you probably listened before, but if you haven't, we're going to talk about our overall thoughts, kind of our brief history with the film itself, and then we'll dive into a play-by-play, scene-by-scene recap, breaking apart the movie. My watch as an adult was a little different. I'm curious, when's the last time you guys have seen it? What's your relationship with this film? And what was it like this time? Andy, start with you, baby.
My relationship with this film.
Yeah, what do you think of
I love it. I mean,
TSOTL.
It's incredible. Like the way that the movie is like staged, there's all of these like individual set piece scenes. And so like when there's a transition that happens and we move somewhere else, there's like this cathartic release of like, oh my God, I just fucking experienced something, like the whole sequence in the, I guess it's like a school that they're in, the gymnasium where he has like his own little cage in the corner. Like that whole sequence is so masterfully done. And like the way that the scene ramps up and the tension that builds, there's so much, every scene is like this little 3-act structure of itself of like introduce, play with each other, and then the stakes raise a little bit. And then there's like this climax that happens and then we move on. And like, there's just this roller coaster. It is a fucking phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
It's been a really long time since I've seen it. I read the book a while back, not recent enough to be able to be like actually in the book.
Right.
But all of those Thomas Harris books are phenomenal. And
I remember when you were going on the Thomas Harris kick, you read Red Dragon and all of them.
Yeah, I read all of them. And they're fantastic books. But this is like, it doesn't even compare. Like the movie is so good. Like I have issues with little things and like overall with the plot where I'm like, oh, so what actually happened? And like, but all of the performances are so good and it's paced so well that like I just ignore all the negative parts of my brain that are like, what was I actually experiencing here? Yeah, the movie's great. Steve?
So I actually have never seen this movie before.
Wow.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that kind of, I feel like Silence of the Lambs is one of those movies that has just permeated the pop culture zeitgeist so much that even though you haven't seen the movie,
You know it.
you know what the movie is almost beat for beat, right? But I actually have never actually sat down and watched the whole thing. I've watched clips of, Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster and some of their acting prowess in the movie. So going into it, like having not seen it from, start to finish, I had these like high expectations because this is like one of only 4 movies to get all the big 5 Oscar awards, right?
One of 3.
One of 3.
Yeah. And
Oh,
then,
that's right. That's
one of the
everything.
only horror ones to like win any. So.
Yeah. So Everything Ever All at Once could have joined them possibly, but it didn't have a lead actor to win.
yes,
Oscar.
it
That's
has
what
to
it
be
was.
best actor, best actress, best picture, best screenplay, and best director.
Yeah.
Dang.
And so going into this movie, I had very, very high expectations of what it was. Because, it's this amazing, everyone knows this movie. Everyone loves Silence of the Lambs. But honestly, when I was watching it, I was just kind of like, this is fine.
Really?
I just didn't really, it didn't grab me at all. I can understand, like I was enjoying the performances, specifically, obviously, from Anthony Hopkins. I think every time he's on screen, he's super captivating. But even like, I know Jodie Foster won an Oscar for her role, but like, I didn't think there was anything special happening. Like, she's not bad, but there's no acting really. I don't know. It's just, and that might be a hot take.
Super hot.
I'm trying to like quietly unzip my jacket and it's coming off as if I'm doing it really sexually.
Because you're on video too.
Well, the good thing is, Andy, I had the camera
Steve's
just
hot.
on me.
Steve's hot takes are turning me on.
Oh, tell me more about how much you don't like this movie. But no, again, I think this is a good movie. I understand why people are super into it, especially at the time of 1991. I can see how this is a, super progressive and daring and somewhat salacious film of the time, right? I can see, especially in the mainstream, like I can see everyone's mom and dad go to see this movie. It's the first time they've ever seen a nipple pierced. And they're like, oh my gosh, honey.
Yeah.
Wow, what a day. What are we going to go do next? Are we going to drink after 11 o'clock at night? We're wild. We're going wild. But
You want to fuck me?
I'd fuck me.
I can't not think of Clerks 2 during that
No, I
scene.
know.
Yeah.
My wife came downstairs during that scene only, like typical mom fashion.
Clerks 2 or
You'd be watching a completely normal movie or an anime or something, and as soon as your parents walk in, it's like all holes filled. I swear to God, it wasn't doing that a second ago. And so as soon as she comes downstairs, it's just him with his dick and balls tucked. Dun, dun. And she starts dying laughing.
Oh, it's good voices.
And immediately I just saw Jason Mewes doing it and started laughing. It totally took me out of it. But anyway, Steve, I appreciate that because it's not just 3 guys gushing over this masterpiece. Like you have a different perspective to add.
Yeah, well, I feel like, and kind of going back to my point of how like for the time it's progressive, but I watched this with my girlfriend at the time, and her and I both were kind of looking at each other the whole movie like, this is clearly a feminist movie written and directed by a man.
Yeah.
And you can see it, and it's so, I don't know, for the time, I understand for the time it probably was like really, really awesome, but 32 years removed since it was released.
Yeah.
It just kind of, the world has moved beyond it. And so that's not to take away from the masterpiece it is, but just watching it with 2023 eyes for the first time, it just was like, okay, I've seen way better versions of the story, but those better versions of the story would probably not exist without this one, if that makes sense.
100%. I don't, how do I say this? I don't agree, but like that has happened to me with other things where I'm like, wow, I bet this was fucking amazing in 1974. And I know that my 6 favorite movies only exist as homage to this, but I am not digging this the way that I dig. You know what I mean? Like that happens to me, that feeling. But I 100% think The Silence of the Lambs holds up. It is just as provocative and gross today as it was in 1991. Like they still to this day don't make movies like this very often. I can't say, as a man, the feminism really worked for me, but essentially it does. I don't think women are currently respected in the workplace, especially in this field.
100% for sure.
In 2023. So I still think that kind of hits like I don't think it was super overt to me personally. Like when she walks into a room And just that Jonathan Demme took the time to show that she was the only woman and show like to cut to 6 different faces of men just kind of looking her up and down.
Oh, I'll make fun of that scene later.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you're the woman, and again, wish there was a woman here, right? Like it's just 3 dudes talking about this. We're acutely aware of this audience. However, I feel like if taking a beat to just put yourselves in the shoes of how awkward that feels, because as we as men have no idea, right? Because we're, there's dicks everywhere we go. Like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I don't feel like it. I guess it could seem hokey, but it didn't at all for me. And there were so many, like Andy was saying, he talked about the 3-act structure of each sequence. But for me, it's like just the care that they don't take anymore. Like you see like early 70s new Hollywood movies, like Brian De Palma, those like that early, as soon as the fucking Hays Code was taken away, right? Even like Sergio Leone, you got these like movies were allowed to breathe. Like they opened up with like a 4-minute title credit sequence. You settled yourself in, you know what I mean? Not a lot happens for the first 6 minutes. It's just names and somebody jogging.
A sweaty Jodie montage.
Yeah. Like I just really appreciate that when it's done effectively. And I think there are some of the most terrifying scenes in cinema. I don't see this movie as a straight horror at all. I see a lot of it. It's kind of like a David Fincher 7 to me. It's just like a really dark thriller. But there are some terrifying sequences in it purely because of how well it's shot. And again, we talked about this when we did Tombstone, where I said I would argue that Doc Holliday is one of the top 10 most iconic, best portrayed characters of all time.
I'm your huckleberry.
Indeed. I would throw Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter in that top 10 list as well. Just the delivery. I mean, I think Anthony Hopkins might be the greatest actor who ever lived.
He's amazing. Yeah.
After seeing him in The Father.
Yeah. Dude. Oh my God, I love that movie.
And there's just some really cool things that happen. Like I was reading when he makes fun of her Southern accent the first time that they meet. That was an ad lib on an improvisation on Anthony Hopkins' part. And so Jodie Foster, who's actually Southern, was legitimately offended and didn't know that was coming. And so like her reaction is real. Like, damn, you just make fun of me, And like she later thanked him, like help me get in the space I need to be in. Appreciate that. Sir Anthony Hopkins, of course. Sorry. All of our listeners across the pond, I apologize for
He's been knighted.
Disparaging your knight.
He protects the realm.
I'm glad, I preach and preach and preach subjectivity, and I'm glad that you feel that way. But it's wrong. No.
Moving on.
I love this movie. I mean, I haven't seen it in 10 years. Like Andy said, at least 10 years or so. I saw it a few times before that. It's my first time as like a full-fledged film nerd taking notes for a podcast watching this movie. And there were so many little things like that I learned from you and Andy about like camera movements and the way to make a movie that I was taking note of this time around. Like, damn, slick shot, my guy. That's my note. Slick shot, my guy. And then lastly, before we dive in, you mentioned the Big Five. The only other 2 movies to do it was in the 30s, a movie called It Happened One Night. And then in the 70s, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I think not only is it like rare in the sense that like a movie has to be really good to win all 5 of those awards, it's really hard to have 2 lead actors, right? Yeah. Because they almost always have to be a protagonist and a villain that are in opposition to each other, like Nurse Ratched and Randall P. McMurphy, right? And then Clarice Starling and Hannibal Lecter. Like it's just rare to have that set up to where you could even have that. Like you said, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Everything else was Michelle Yeoh and everyone else was a supporting actor. But also, it's interesting though that they even billed him as a best actor. He had less than 16 minutes of screen time. He's just such a fucking unstoppable force in this movie.
Yeah, after the big prison break, he basically disappears for most of the third act.
In the plot and in the movie, it's from a meta perspective, But it's just I just love the setup of this. The whole idea that he's not even the villain, right? He's just this like force. I can't even describe what else it would be like. It'd be like Luke Skywalker needs a Count Dooku to help him track Vader or something. Like it's so cool.
I've been looking forward to this.
Dude, it's such a good premise for the story, and it delivers on that so well.
And he's like supernaturally good at not just killing, but he's a genius with psychology and uses. You watched the show, right?
Just a couple of episodes. I talked about it on this show, and it was just at a time when we were like doing Crossing Streams a lot. So it was kind of like watch a few episodes of something to be able to talk about it and move on to something else. So I haven't gone back to it yet, but I fucking loved it.
Yeah, Hannibal's great. I presume you never bothered with Hannibal, right?
Oh, I've watched Hannibal.
Have you really?
I only watched the first season or the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And then like it got away from me. Like I didn't, again, I always loved it, but I just, for whatever reason, I couldn't keep
get
up.
it.
But oh my God, I loved Hannibal.
Yeah, I love the premise of him being free and just being like a crime solver as the premise, but also eating people. Yeah, it's such a good idea. It's such a good idea. But let's dive in. Let's find out specifically some things Steve didn't care for too much and some of the things that he did. And I'll try to gush as much as I can then. We start out in the woods near Quantico, Virginia, because she's at the FBI Academy. We meet Clarice Starling running through the obstacle course. Like that's basically the credit sequence is her training. And a guy with a very clear FBI hat comes up to carry a message that Crawford wants to see her, right?
What was up with those credits, by the way? I just have to say.
What do you mean?
My nitpicky mind, the opening credits were driving me bonkers.
What's wrong with them?
Well, the font is like Impact with like black lettering with a white border that's too big, and it takes up most of the screen and it's distracting.
I know what you did.
I know what you did.
Papyrus.
He's getting away with it. But no, I found it very distracting. And then the kerning in between the letters was like random as all hell. So you'd have a name and like the 2 A's and Isaac would be like double spaced away from each other. It was like someone did like a first pass on it. And they're like, it's fucking fine. It's the opening credits. No one gives a shit.
Maybe it was part of the font that those letters came up like that.
Oh, I don't know if it was to get a different font.
Well, I think the size of it is, like I said, like a new Hollywood thing. Like it looked like a Dollars trilogy movie or, you know what I mean, a Sergio Leone movie where you really linger on those giant names because the names are what's important. What's going on in the background is to hold your attention and kind of ease you into the movie. They don't fucking care if you can see Clarice running up that hill for a second. They want you to see the producer's name.
Yeah, there's a reason why we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, because kids have no attention span, and Michael Bay's got to blow something up, and then we put the credits at the end, and we make you watch them by talking about the sequel. So you have to wait through the credits to get to the stinger.
Yep.
I wish this movie had a stinger.
It would be nice. Awesome. Hannibal Lecter will return.
The stinger is kind of like the final scene, right?
Yeah. It feels like
they might as well put a Hannibal Lecter will return at the end of that.
That'd be nice.
Red Dragon.
Red Dawn.
Red Dragon.
We did run by some goofy signs though. Like she as she's jogging up to Crawford's office.
Hurt,
like,
agony, pain,
love it.
With pride blacked out.
Yeah. But it's also kind of, it plays into the themes. Like this is this like machismo, right? Like mentality that she's dealing with. Like that's totally the kind of thing a bunch of dudes would put up for their training course. Like, run till your dick hurts.
Just do it.
My dick would hurt.
By the way, Steve, I don't know if you were so mad at the font, but you might not have noticed that Howard Shore did the music.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Why would it be upset about Howard Shore doing the music?
You love Howard Shore. You're not upset. I'm saying, did you notice that?
I did.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the guy that did Lord of the Rings.
Oh, is that guy?
Andy, have you heard of that little movie, Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I've heard.
Would have been better if Bear McCreary had done it, though, wouldn't you say, Steve?
Oh, man, no.
Rings of Power flashbacks. I just thought that was neat. What if he accidentally got it mixed up and decades earlier and like she's running up the obstacle course and you hear,
like every time she goes into the prison to talk to Hannibal Lecter, dun 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 dun.
That actually works.
Tell me, where is Hannibal? For I much desire to speak with him.
That's Dr. Chilton. But
I love my petty punishments.
She waits for Crawford in his office when she gets there. And there's a little scene where it's like especially awkward for her, very intentional. And then she sees his cork board with his like favorite recipes. And then a Bill Skin.
Live, laugh, love on there.
Yeah. Bill Skin's Fifth. And a bunch of like very explicit pictures of women with their skin ripped off.
Sounds like a fun band name.
Mm-hmm. Bill Skin's Fifth.
Explicit pictures of women.
Their third album's
metal as fuck.
Next up on our docket.
Put your hands together for
explicit pictures of women with their skin ripped off.
No, it's a new wave band.
Yeah.
It's a Jewel
Keytar.
cover band.
They come out with keytars for sure.
Oh yeah.
And she wants to work for Crawford, right? In behavioral science when she graduates. She's still in the academy. He talks about all of her, high acclaim that she's gotten from previous stints in college and things like that. And he says that they're interviewing all serial killers for psychological profiles, alluding to the show Mindhunter.
It's a great show.
Such a good fucking show. And he wants her to interview Hannibal the Cannibal. And we find out that he's got other designs for that, but he's not going to tell her. Hannibal's going to sniff it out, right? So she's willing to do that. She looks up to Dr. And by the way, Crawford is so highly respected, promoted, famous because he caught Hannibal Lecter. That's his whole deal. That's why he's so respected. There's a really good transition because she asks a question about Hannibal, and then it cuts to Dr. Chilton talking. Oh, he's a monster. A psychopath. And Dr. Chilton is such a class A douchebag. He starts hitting on her immediately. Like, will you be in Baltimore overnight? You want to party or something? Maybe get your fuck on?
It's a fun city if you have the right guide.
Mm-hmm. I guide you right to my balls.
What he tells her isn't too far removed from that. Yeah.
He has what we call zero riz nowadays. Right?
Is he the shiz?
He's too sophisticated for standard tests. That's what he says about Dr. Lecter, right? He can outsmart any rubric that you can throw at him. And then he's like really creepy to her after she turns him down very professionally. Like, no, I'm flying back. I'm just here for work. He starts saying, oh, I guess Dr. Crawford sent you here to woo Lecter because you're hot. He hadn't seen a woman in years. He would like pretty much anybody, not saying you're hot, any kind of lady. And are you ever his taste? Like, it's just highly inappropriate, right?
Yeah. This man's a doctor.
Yeah. And so then, are you saying it was a little laying it on thick?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This movie does lay on like the misogyny pretty thick.
Yeah. Which is totally fine. Like if it ended with this dude, I'd be fine. Like, ooh, a skeezy doctor, sure, whatever. But I feel like even Crawford, like the way, like he creeps me the fuck out too. Like
I'll grant you that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'll grant you that I'm not sure because I remember at the very end when she extends her hand to have it shaken or something. There's a weird look there.
That was a weird handshake.
I don't know what they're trying to say about their relationship.
Yeah.
I honestly don't. I don't think they made him creepy per se to me, but I'm
confused. They keep implying that there's a sexual desire on his part at least. And then at the end, it kind of maybe is a reciprocated feeling from her.
Well, Lecter implies it, right? Gets the idea in her head.
But then also the way he does leer at her and he just kind of like... I don't know. He has a very off-putting vibe to me, at least. Mr. Crawford does.
Sure, but sometimes it's just like there's that late '80s because this was '91, but it's still got a lot of '80s.
How
vibes.
do we interact with the women? What do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do with my hands?
Do I shake? What do I do with my hands? Do I shake your hand or do I touch your boob? What do I do?
No. Okay.
What is no boob? Okay, got it.
Tits.
Can I leer at you from the corner?
I don't know. I understand what you're saying. And like you are one of the most effeminate, respectful, cool people in the world.
Stop it.
But I do think, because I don't want to say like a snarky joke that I would say to like one of my conservative friends, you know what I mean? Which would have been, oh yeah, it's not like a doctor would ever be creepy or anything. Because obviously that's a very pervasive common thing, especially for people in positions of power to be extra creepy.
Right.
So I don't think it's the most outlandish thing in the world that Dr. Chilton would be like, you're trying to fuck?
I'm not saying it's outlandish. I'm just saying they're laying it on so thick with literally every person that isn't her is doing that to her. Mm-hmm. To the point where it's like, are there any normal ass people in this movie other than her friend?
Well, I want to point out that she's in West Virginia most of the time.
well, you do. Good point. Good point.
Sorry. You guys have great water rafting.
Yeah. Some good songs about you too.
Yeah. Mountain Mama.
Yeah.
Country road.
Sing it, Steve.
To the place I belong.
I love that song.
West Virginia.
No, John Denver. Which a whole different state, his name. confusing.
Yeah.
All the way down to Hannibal's like cell block, she's given all the rules of what she can do and not do in there, right? Like don't pass him anything, don't accept anything he passes you, don't go to the glass, don't tell him anything personal. You don't want Hannibal Lecter in your head, right? And then she's like, hey, I want to go in alone. I think you mentioned he hates you, so it'd probably be better if I didn't have you near me. Also, I kind of hate you. And he's like, you could have saved me the trip because I was doing a ton of important shit. I was about to jerk off when you showed up.
Who's going to go out for cheeseburgers and beer?
He does like cheeseburgers and beer.
Yeah. I know where to get those things because I'm a good guide.
But she's so clever. She's so diplomatic. And she's used to that in disarming. She can't just, to get ahead in this world because it's the patriarchy, God damn it. She can't just say, yeah, fuck off. And she's like, oh, but then I would have missed the pleasure of your company, right? Like, I love it. I love the subtlety. Like, I know it's not subtle to you guys sometimes, but I thought it was like very clever. Like, you could just breeze right by that. Like, oh, what a weird, polite interaction. Yeah. But I think it's just her way of adapting to the world to smile and,
Totally.
No, that's the best part is the way she handles the situations.
Yeah. It's really, really cool. But then we get this dope, I think, 360 shot of like the orderly guard room. And then it ends in like creepy ass Barney.
Hey.
I don't know. I don't know if that was hokey or not, but I dug it. And then we get the legendary, one of like 3 major legendary cultural touchstones and scenes in this movie, but the hallway walk. I can smell you. I'm not going to say it, but Miggs, you're out of control. And then Hannibal's there waiting at the end with like a chair sitting in front of his cell.
I love how when she walks, I do like how she walks by all the people in the cell and like, one dude's super sad, like sitting on the table. Miggs is being himself.
Working up.
One dude's like running around screaming. And then it cuts to Lecter, who's like perfectly dressed just in the center of the room.
Well, he's standing weird,
perfectly still.
Stock straight, like a creepy, strong posture, right? And they actually originally wanted him to be wearing like an orange prison jumpsuit. And it was Anthony Hopkins' idea to wear pristine white because he had a fear of dentists. And he was like, I think it's way creepier if I have like perfectly bleached white stuff. And they're like, okay, do it then. And I agree.
As I was doing my exercises.
Dude, I fucking, every word this man utters, I love. He could eat me. Yeah. I wouldn't even care. Get your fava beans.
Let him.
Get your Chianti.
I got some Chianti for you, my dude.
Eat my ass. Anthony Hopkins, I'm down. Oh, that's not what you meant? But then, so yeah, he's like, he asks to see her credentials. And I just...
That shot is so fucking good, dude.
And the close-up shots, how they use their eyes. And isn't it like so fucking haunting?
Because like he has these crazy wide eyes. And like he's comes in and then he looks down to the side. So that establishes, oh, he was fucking staring at her like that and then looked down at the credentials.
Yes.
It's so good.
I agree.
Yeah, the way they film him specifically with how intense his gaze is throughout the whole movie.
There's a lot of close-ups.
It's really good, yeah. I think the close-ups work best in these exchanges between the two of them. Like those are used very, very effectively. There's a couple scenes where they go back to the close-ups. And it's like, you don't need that for this.
And sometimes it works to like make it claustrophobic. Yeah. I think that this is like showcase the performance close-up as opposed to like an emotional impact one to some extent. Yeah. But there are a lot of close-ups in this movie for sure.
Yeah, and then he mentions after he gets her credentials, and he notices everything, right? Like it expires in a week. Yeah, you're not a real FBI agent. And he talks about multiple MIGs, and this, what did he say to you? And she's like, he said, I can smell your... And he says, I see. I myself cannot. And starts sniffing and says that he can smell her Evian face cream and that she wears some
she usually wears this perfume, but
not today.
She's not wearing it right now. That's wild.
But I love that's I myself cannot. It's so good.
I would tell you if I could.
It's strange that Miggs was wrong on this matter.
Yeah.
Usually he's pretty spot on.
Yeah. He's got a nose for vagine.
But he does turn that around, like when he says, like, but you wear, what's the perfume?
I don't know the perfume. It's like eau de temp or something.
Yeah, but he's like, you usually wear this. but not today. Like that.
He can just get the whiff of it.
That was the creepiest thing. Like, ugh.
Well, and later he can smell that she's bleeding.
He can smell what she smelled like yesterday. Like, that's a fucking superpower.
Which, if that's something you can do, no wonder this motherfucker's crazy.
Well, there's no.
If you're smelling everybody's whole week of laundry, yeah, you're gonna go nuts.
There's no eking a fart out around this guy. Can you imagine?
Barney, I can tell Barney had tacos this morning.
His mixture of obsession for good manners and this sense of smell. He's not going to invite me to dinner twice.
No.
I can tell you that.
No.
Did you just lift your left thigh imperceptibly? No.
I can smell what you had when you were 10.
But I mean, I love that
you use Charmin toilet paper.
but not today. Oh God. I used a sock, okay? I didn't want to waddle out to the hallway.
They only use single ply here.
But he's got like a supernatural ability. It's almost supernatural. You know, it's like, and that adds to the horror. I think it's so disconcerting. But she tries to like do this corny transition like I do on the podcast into like, well, how about you check out this questionnaire?
Annie Hoozles.
Yeah. She hit it.
She hits him with an Annie Hoozles.
Yeah, she hit him with an Annie Hoozle. And he's like, oh, you were doing fine. And like,
You were doing fine until you hit me with the Annie Hoozle.
yeah, I hate Annie Hoozle. I'm going to leave a bad iTunes review. And he talks about Buffalo Bill and asks, hey, the news won't tell me why he got that moniker. And she said it was started as a joke, and a small town cop said this one likes to skin his humps, a.k.a. Buffalo, right? And then she sends him the questionnaire.
Is that what they do in New York?
What? Skin humps?
I still don't get it. Skinning humps.
It's like a buffalo, like skinning. Buffaloes have humps, and like they would skin them.
Oh, okay.
To use them for like boots and stuff.
Okay.
Back when buffalo roamed.
Gotcha.
Where are the buffalo?
They do that in New York was a joke, but
Right.
Yeah. I just didn't understand like skin the hump. I was
Bison.
Like, okay.
Yeah, but they used to skin bison and whatnot. And then
Camel Bill.
He sends him to the questionnaire, and he insults her, like cuts her to the bone, makes fun of her accent, which I talked about earlier was a real thing.
You poor white trash.
Yeah, couldn't wait to get out of there. Everybody fingering her and shit. I don't know. He went on a long time, and I was like, ow. And you can tell like she starts like getting watery eyed, like he's cutting to the truth of the matter, or at least some inherent vague truth. And I forget who she even asks about. Who was his first? Oh, he talks about the first guy who tried to like analyze him like this, I think.
Yeah, that another doctor.
And I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. Sounds like the Lord of Kisses.
Oh,
Which is iconic, and that's in Cable Guy, right?
Yes. Jim Carrey does it well. But then he basically tells her to fuck off in a very direct way that scares the shit out of her. Like, fly, little starling, fly, 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 which is like, there's a lot of bird
fly, fly, fly
imagery in this movie that I really appreciate. And so she flees, but not fast enough because Miggs throws a whole wad of nut on her, and it's not cool.
Spider-Man.
He's been just cranking away at that while she was talking.
The fucking doctor standing at the end, like, yeah.
And you know, because he said he was going to keep an eye on her. So, you know, they're in that little room like, hey, check out Miggs. He's got a Spider-Man her. $10.
Yeah, they're like, Barney's like, I remember when he threw a nut on me.
He does that. Yeah.
That guy.
That's how he tells. That's his love language.
If he wasn't crazy, he would be a quarterback.
Barney's just got these stains.
Poor Barney. Poor Barney. But I love how Hannibal is like distraught, like Clarice,
I love it.
I hate it when big Spider-Man's people get back here.
Yes.
He's not a web slinger.
He said he can't stand bad manners, right? And that's really rude to throw your cum on somebody.
In some circles.
Yeah, circle jerk is okay. Is that what you're saying, Steve?
Depends on the circle you're in. I
One
guess.
particular circle where that's okay.
You're just like cha cha cha.
But even that, it's just collateral damage. You're never supposed to intentionally. I guess.
Chris, go on and tell me. I want you to break that down for me.
Here's the ground rules. No eye contact. Number 2.
That's a given.
That's really the only rule.
Number 2, we all know what the bucket is for. Number 3,
we don't talk about the bucket.
And number 4,
why are we here?
Spider-Man.
Anyway, that's how we play.
So he starts screaming for her to come back. Like
he does.
She's like covered in cum.
And she does come back.
He hits her with it. That's another skit where Hannibal is like, Clarice, come back here. Oh, that's wrong. Gotcha. We all do it.
We all do.
That's what they call this here for. That's why they call this the C block, because we be coming.
Plot twist. That's why we're down here. Everybody else has windows. We, for obvious reasons, do not.
Barney knew. That's why Barney stayed in that room.
Yeah, good luck. You'll be fine. Oh, shit. Any hoozle. You were doing fine. She flees. And when she gets outside, there's like birds chirping.
Well, hold up. He calls her back and he says,
Miss Moffat,
look deep within yourself and talk to my old patient or whatever.
Yeah, one of my old patients, Miss Moffat, sat on her toffet, eating her curds and whey. He doesn't. And the yourself
But
thing
not
was one I
today.
forgot. So she flees. There's birds chirping outside because she's the starling, right? And then she has memories of approaching a car when she was a little girl. Her daddy was a cop, and it was him. Her memory was of him coming home from work. Did you catch any bad guys today? Oh, they all got away. Aw. It's like, you're terrible at your job.
They paid me off.
Yeah. But you got a new toy. We cut back to Clarice, more training. She's doing like a pretend, what's it called? Invasion, not a home invasion. That's a different job. Get all the money out of the safe, Clarice.
To catch criminals, you got to think like one.
Anyway, she's pretending to like a forced entry. There we go. And then she gets killed, mock killed. She fails the test, right?
You're dead, Starling.
And then she's running with her friend.
She didn't check her corners, Chris.
She didn't. Her back corner.
That's what you do. If you're in police training, you always check them corners.
Just in general, man.
Yeah.
I check corners.
Anytime I go into a bathroom stall, I'm checking the corners.
Every single stall, even if they're locked, I check them.
Corner. Good.
Poke my head underneath just to make sure there's no killer.
Corner. Good.
Give
That's
it the
right.
old ocular pat down.
Every time I crawl under, the guy in there usually goes checking corners.
And then we nux.
Way to be safe, my guy. Slide out.
Hey, while you're down there, can you give me some TP? This one's out.
Use your sock.
Oh, good idea.
But Hannibal will smell it. So yeah, she gets mock killed, and then she's jogging with, what is it, Adelia? You don't find her friend's name till like the end.
I don't know.
I wrote it down.
Yeah, it's like Adelia. It's similar to that.
But like, there's like, I guess this is what you were alluding to. It's like kind of annoying, but as they're jogging and studying, talking about different like cop codes and stuff, a group of men start.
Ardelia.
Ardelia. A group of men just laugh at them for being there and being women and studying. And then it
Who
cuts
let them outside?
It cuts to her looking at old newspapers about Hannibal Lecter and the fact that Crawford caught him. And then she gets a phone call while doing that, and Lecter made Miggs kill himself somehow. It was just, he was whispering to Miggs all day, and then Miggs swallowed his own tongue.
What does that mean?
Usually it happens during a seizure, but my guess is that he made him so upset that he maybe had a seizure.
Or he talked him into it is what I
Or he's
imagined.
just, how do you swallow your own tongue though? Like on purpose?
That's the thing. Like I assumed that he talked him into killing himself, or maybe like cut him to the bone and made him want to take his own life. But what is the swallowing his own tongue part of it? What does that mean?
I mean, you can do that during a seizure. So I guess if you were upset enough.
I guess if you tried to do it, you probably could, right? I I don't know. I'm not
Let's
about to try.
Let me
But
try it.
I don't know how that works.
Swallow, Steve.
I fight a nickel for every time I do that.
You'd have 4 nickels, but it's weird. It happens so often.
He could have bit it off and swallowed it.
Maybe, yeah. The whole point is...
I love the extra step of, now let's swallow it.
The whole point is that Hannibal got in his head and some extreme shit happened to Miggs, who we've already seen is an extreme person, right? We know that to be the case.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's like, I don't know what to think about that.
Apparently, it is not possible to swallow the tongue.
Okay.
Bodily tissue firmly connects the tongue to the mouth, which prevents people from accidentally swallowing it. It is a common myth that a person can swallow their tongue during a seizure, while asleep, or if they become unconscious.
I bet Gene Simmons could do it.
The things that man can do with his tongue,
he
legendary.
tickles his own throat just to feel it.
Yeah. Just to feel something.
Just to feel something.
He's dead inside.
Oh, I feel alive now. So
Tickle.
This is when she figures out that Moffat is an anagram, right? It's because Hester Moffat is the name of the patient, but because he destroyed all of his patients' records and the way that he said yourself was too hokey, like look within yourself for Dr. Lecter. So she figured it must be a clue for something else. So she goes to your self-storage, finds a bin registered to the name of a Hester Moffat and decides that that's where he wants her to go. It's just a weird scene with the owner of the storage bins.
Dickensian character that owns the storage.
Back in my day, he's got like a cane and a top hat and a monocle in my mind.
I don't have the key to this place because, our customers like to have
I respect the privacy.
There's drugs in here.
My driver detests physical labor. I would ask him to help you. And the guy's just staring at her like, he's right.
I ain't get out of this car.
I definitely don't get out of this car.
If you ask me, I'll say no.
Yeah, it's just one of those.
I will allow you to carjack and destroy my door, though.
Well, I don't think the driver would have been any help because even the carjack, how stuck is that fucking door that a carjack won't help?
Yeah, for real.
That thing can lift thousands of poundages.
It's made of titanium.
Tony?
Oh, I'm his cousin.
Sniper Tony's cousin.
Because it's Mark and Anthony.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tony time. Are you a better shot than your brother, Mark?
Lord, no. I can't even drive.
Runs in the family. But while she's in there, she looks around. She finds some things.
Yeah.
I love, by the way, I think the writing is just fucking spot on genius. Again, she's a woman, so she feels extra uncomfy, right? She's about to crawl into this dark room under this door, and there's like a creepy old top hat Monopoly guy and his fucking lazy driver there. So she says very diplomatically, hey, if anything happens to me, not that you would do it, but if anything happens to me, not that you would do it, but I'm fucking talking about you, you creepy bastard.
Yeah. They know I'm with you.
Everyone knows I'm with you.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's so fucking good. I love it. Me personally.
I planned on adding you to my menagerie, but I guess I won't now.
You spilled the beans.
Damn it.
Clever.
Foiled by my own petard.
Is it hoisted?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was hoping that door wouldn't be the only thing to get jacked tonight, but
guess I'll go back to my driver. And you must spit
back to my driver.
I know you don't like manual labor, but
I need relief.
Plan A fell through.
That's why he refuses to do any.
No, I stay in the car.
A little roadhead might not be bad.
If this guy gets out of the car, he's going to ask the first person he sees for a handy.
Bill, why don't you let me drive? Nope. But while she's in there, she cuts her leg on the door. She finds a big car. She goes in there. There's like a bunch of dresses and mannequins and things like that come.
Giant American flag.
And some like swatches of fabric, I think. Were those swatches?
Yeah.
And American flag. And a jar with a head in it, like you do. Mm-hmm. So then she goes back to Hannibal. And outside it's fucking Barney. He's like, Clarice, thanks for calling ahead. It's fine if you go see this super top secret criminal again?
I told them they can't Spider-Man today.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
I made sure they're all firing blanks. I made them go to town the whole drive up here.
Just don't turn on a black light if you have one.
That's one thing Hannibal says too, and I'm sorry we're harping on this.
She shows up in a poncho.
One of the funniest things. Like one of those guys that goes to, what's that comedian that smashes watermelons?
Gallagher.
Yeah, one of those Gallagher audiences thing.
She's got like the
No reason.
Welcome to the splash zone.
But I love it when Hannibal says, I doubt Miggs could manage again so soon, but you should probably hurry. It's funny. So she goes in there and she says, hey, Hester Moffat was an anagram for Miss the Rest of Me, Miss Hester Moffat, right? And so he's like, yep, definitely was. And then he sends her.
So I'm confused. Miss? Where's Miss? It's a guy.
Miss is the word, but Hester Moffat is an anagram for the rest of me. And then he called her Miss Moffat because Miss with the rest of the name's anagram is Miss the Rest of Me.
Okay. But Hester's a guy, right? So
Hester's not a person at all.
Right. But like okay, I get it.
Like she didn't know the Hester part till she found the storage bin owner.
Yeah.
So it was like multiple layers to the clue.
Yeah.
He sends her a towel because he's a fucking polite cannibal. And she's wet. She's been in the rain. She needs to dry off.
Could used that the last time.
Yeah. Where was the towel last time?
Yeah,
you were in a hurry.
I had already used that one.
And he can tell that she can tell that she's bleeding. I guess he can smell it, right?
Yeah.
And he says the name of the person, the head that belongs to is Benjamin Raspail. And that's not a murder of his. He did not kill that person. He found him like that. He just stored them, right? But that
away as I found him.
It was his patient.
He was just a garden variety manic depressive.
Very boring, very taxing. And they took his drawings and they're tormenting him while she was gone. As soon as you leave, they're going to turn up that gospel TV station as loud as it goes. And like, it's just Dr. Chilton fucking with me. He's not an ethical man, that Chilton, right?
Dr. Chilton loves his petty torments.
He desires a window, Mr. Lecter. And he offers to help catch Buffalo Bill. But he won't tell her who decapitated Benjamin Raspel. Not yet, at least. And then we cut to Memphis, Tennessee. And some fucking banging ass Tom Petty.
Hell yeah.
I'm such a Tom Petty fan. Are you?
Yeah.
And the Heartbreakers?
Yeah, and the Heartbreakers, all of them.
Damn, because I like Hootie, but not the Blowfish. So I didn't know if you like the Heartbreakers.
Oh, no, I love the Heartbreakers.
I'm legitimately a huge Tom Petty fan. But she's just a jammin'.
Is it American Girl? Is that what was playing?
Yep. American Girl.
Yeah.
Bow, bow, bow.
All right.
Make it last all night.
Take it easy, baby.
Banger. And there's that shot while she's driving where like the car, like the lights, like somebody pulls behind her and like it's so menacing. And like that ends up being nobody, but like the way that's shot,
Yeah.
like, oh fuck, she's being followed.
Everything's menacing. So she pulls into the park. She's going up to her apartment. But first we see some night vision goggles, POV style. Very creepy. And Matt Reeves ended up using this in the Batman from the viewpoint of the Riddler.
Sicario used it really well.
Yeah.
What do you show me? Sorry. I always think of the Penguin from that movie.
He's great,
I
though.
love him. He's my favorite part of that movie.
Except that he speaks Spanish better than Batman. El Lorada or whatever. What are you, an idiot? Why do you speak Spanish?
Are you going to leave me here?
I love Mexican food.
Come on.
But she sees a man struggling with the love seat and she's very hesitant. It's creepy outside. It's dark. He doesn't look super welcoming, but she's a good person. And she's like, he's got one hand. He's got a cast on.
He can't possibly be Ted Bundy.
Which, by the way, if you're ever in that position, fuck him. Like, you know,
Go inside.
It's a personal safety matter.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It's literally how Ted Bundy would get people. So
If you're ever in that situation, fuck him. It sounds bad, but you know,
Yeah.
a lot of, you know.
Is that what Ted Bundy did?
yeah, he would like.
He was like a super charming guy.
He would also pretend to have a cast
Yeah.
on or something and drop stuff. Like he would hang out by a library with books and he would have a fake cast on or sling. And he would just drop his books and make people like, oh, the guy with the sling dropped his books. Let me help him out. And that's how he would start a conversation with people. Yeah.
Yep. Creepy guy. And he makes her like get all the way into the fucking creepy ass van. I want to push the chair all the way to the back. Fuck you, buddy. Good luck. Yeah. Are you a size 14? She was.
I just can't get it into the truck.
And he violently hits her. Like he doesn't have any like clever like syringe or anything like you would expect. He just beats her with the cast.
He doesn't even close the doors first.
Yeah, you would think that he would shut the doors on her once like she's back there.
Yeah, that's what I expected.
Yeah.
Nope. Boom, boom, boom. And while he's in there, he cuts off her clothes and looks how smooth her skin is. And yes. And that's his calling card, is to leave the shirt cut up the back, the blouse.
What if she
on the
had
ground.
poor skin? Would he be like, oh, this won't do?
Yeah, he probably would have just shot her and rolled her out of the van.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He has such a scary voice.
He does. Like he's the cop in the first Fast and Furious. And it freaks me out because I would see Buffalo Bill every time I see him.
Like he has this like high pitched thing that suddenly drops. Like
Well,
it's
not,
so
it's like a thickness to it
Yeah.
and not two C's.
it sounds like there's something like caught in his throat, you know?
Like a Lugs.
Oh, it's
Some
awesome.
Migs in there. And then
Swallowed his own tongue.
multiple Migs in there even. That's what his name came from. Anyway, so he kidnaps her and he's got a love tattooed on his hand. I never really took note of that before, even though they have a close up of it later.
Yeah, because people with tattoos are bad people, Chris.
I don't know why I did a horse thing there. And then we cut to more academy training with Clarice Starling. And she's interrupted in that. And she's pulled to West Virginia with Crawford. Again, Crawford, for some reason, wants this academy trainee going to West Virginia with him because they pulled another body. Another Buffalo Bill body's been found in the river. And he briefs her on the way.
Triple B.
Yeah, Triple B, Buffalo Bill body. And then a brief. So he typically what Bill does is he keeps them for 3 days and then shoots them, skins them, dumps them. That's the briefing.
In a different river.
Yes. Here's all the places they've been found. Here's all the rivers they've been found in.
He's going to eventually run out of rivers, though.
The first body that he killed was actually found third because it's the only one that he weighted down. So they think he got lazy after that one. And he asks her for her thoughts on the guy's profile. And she gives a pretty smart response.
He's not a drifter. He's got a house.
He's got a house. What he does?
30s
She's
or
private.
40s.
Yeah.
He's a cautious, precise.
Yeah, he's not impulsive like a 20-year-old would do.
I'm hearing it. My Jodie Foster in this movie impersonation is coming out like George Bush. I'm hearing it now.
I thought it was pretty good, actually.
Decent. Yeah, I thought it was very good.
He's got a real taste for it.
You did a George Bush.
My fellow Americans.
Now do Jodie Foster saying, fool me once,
They got a saying in Tennessee.
fool me twice.
Fool me once, shame on. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again.
Best quote ever. Shame on can't get fooled
Now
again.
watch us drive. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
I love that. When we went golfing last summer, I kept doing that nonstop.
Now watch us drive.
We can't let the terrorists win. Now watch us drive.
So while she's being briefed, she drops some hot knowledge on him and then asks him about Dr. Lecter. Like, hey, why was it always your plan to get him to help with Buffalo Bill? Why didn't you tell me that? Have you thought about the offer? Blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, I couldn't tell you that it was the plan, but, Lecter would have sniffed that out in a second. And she's like, oh, don't I know it?
Guy's got the super sniffer.
He does. I won't say that. It's funny, though. Just no.
Just know it's funny, guys.
They pull up to Grieg Funeral Home. They're at a wake. And inside, the sheriff, very rude. And very rude sheriff. And then Crawford asks the sheriff to go away from Clarice. Like, we don't want to hear the woman to hear this
The
talk.
woman folk get scared.
Whew, boy, do they. I don't want her to get the vapors and pass out. And while she's alone
Are
with all
y'all
the other...
talking about Moida?
Moida? Oh.
The vipers.
This is where the men are all staring at her in a lengthy scene while the sheriff and the Crawford are away.
This whole scene was making me chuckle because, there's like the whole like leering like, girl. But then, so they're at a wake. Is it common practice to where if there is a murder that they're like, all right, everyone, the entire police force for this small town, we're crashing the funeral. We're all going to stand there and make everyone be reminded of the way this person died.
Yeah.
Like, imagine a representative would go, right? But the entire force... All 12 men?
I think it's like an unrelated like funeral that's happening in the other room.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
This town is so small that the coroner is in the same building as the funeral home, because the body they pulled fresh from the river that they're examining is not the funeral that's going on.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, like
But
some
still,
family member's gonna like stumble into the other room, like, what the fuck? I was looking for the bathroom.
Why is there a caterpillar? I get it. They're scared of bugs.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about all their mustaches.
But also it does go to because she even asked them, like, in a very, again, diplomatic way, she could have very validly said, Steve, hey, hillbilly fuckers, why are there 30 of you in here? What are you doing?
Well, she does that. Yeah.
But she very diplomatically says, I'm sure all the families of all the loved ones are very much appreciate your heart. Yeah, exactly.
Let us take care of her now.
At every turn, when she has to stand up to some obvious fuckery, she has to be really subtle about their egos, right? Yeah. And they all kind of they were all like clacking coffee cups and shit, like, hell yeah, put a little whiskey in mine. We're gonna be here all day. It's gonna be great. Unzip her. You guys want to see a dead body?
Ooh, gross.
Yeah. Again, deleted a joke, but it was fire. So they all rush out.
Why are you censoring yourself? Let me censor
Just trust me.
Let me censor you.
Just trust me. So then once she gets him out of there, she has first we skipped on this while the sheriff and Crawford were talking, she's watching the wake that's going on. And she has memories of her father's wake. So now we learn that her father died, right? So it's another flashback of hers. And once she shoos them away, they start using the nose smelly cream.
Oh, I meant to say that this was a good close-ups for claustrophobia when she's like surrounded by all the men and they're staring at her and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you never really get a good view of what that room even looks like because it's like way up on Jodie Foster like the whole time. And then it does the cool transition into it being the dream sequence.
Pretty seamlessly.
Yeah. It's cool stuff. But I thought that was really effective use of it.
Yeah, the transition into the dream sequence was really seamless because I as I was watching, I'm like, why is she going into this funeral? That's rude.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah,
who died?
Like who's this woman? Excuse me, I just want to know. Did you know the deceased? Did you know them well?
Where's Buffalo Bill?
Cool.
Now watch this pod.
Now watch this drive.
A guy threw cum on me yesterday.
And then everyone in the funeral gets up. Ah! This is Miggs' funeral. Pew, 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 pew. What a twist of fate if that was Miggs' funeral and his whole family was like in on the game.
There's just cum pranks like everywhere she goes.
Into the Spider-Verse. Pew, 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 pew.
Like when they ever put the cream on her lip, they're like... She's like, God damn it. Sorry, we thought it'd be funny. Here's the real jar. Got her again. Fool me once.
Don't get fooled again.
Fuck.
But what's the smelly cream, Steve? You know what it is.
It's peppermint oil.
Do you have experience with this personally?
No, but my girlfriend is a nurse and she's telling me like they do that for dead bodies and stuff.
Really?
So, yeah.
If you're really hardcore, then you put it under your eyes instead.
It just burns your eye. They should have had her being a rookie and just like not knowing what was she just
she puts it in her mouth like gross. This doesn't taste like a candy cane.
No, thank you. Not hungry.
I had breakfast this morning. Did you notice that the coroner in the scene, if this whole coroner thing doesn't work out for him, he definitely has a career as a magician. Because did you see how he revealed the body? He was like, like with the flair of a Vegas magician. It was quite impressive.
It's just a rabbit.
And then they use the...
This was my previous assistant. I accidentally sawed her in half.
They take a page out of Jaws' book. Like, they don't show you the body for so long in the scene. And that makes it that much more horrifying when they finally do. It's awesome.
It's like all the leaves stuck to it and shit. And you can see like the skin diamonds cut out of her back.
Like, well, it starts with just like her fingernails. And shit. And you're like, oh, fuck.
And like, and again, Jodie Foster's fucking incredible in this scene. Like her face, she's maintaining composure, but at the same time, this is probably the first thing this horrible she's seen up close in her whole life. Yeah. So you can see like the nausea, the tears in her eyes, but also the strength, and she's doing her job. She's talking she's documenting everything into the tape recorder. I thought it was incredibly impressive. Like there's a lot of layers going on there. Yeah. But she notices some things too. Like there's something in its throat because they go to take pictures of the teeth. They find a bug cocoon in there, and there's different sections of skin removed than the other bodies that the other 4 bodies that they've seen. So she was she was burned up about the woman thing. Like she's talking to Crawford in the car on the way there. And
what a weird cut to that, I thought.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because you've got the suspense of that scene, the autopsy scene, and it just cuts to him kind of like laying back. And
yeah, it's
hey,
so
you're
weird.
real mad about that thing, weren't you?
Their heads are so close together.
It was the vibe was 2 best friends at a sleepover in 5th grade. Like, do you think we'll ever have boyfriends? Like, I don't know, like, is this kind of an odd, like, oh, okay, I feel like there could have been a better transition to this, but sure.
It's one of those, we have the scene and we need it, but we don't know where to put it moments.
Yeah. They would have needed some reshoots to.
Well, the next transition's interesting too. It cuts to the men playing bug chess. Yeah. And I actually loved a little bit of like, these guys are creepy as fuck, but at the same time, a little more harmless. You can tell by her reaction that she's not super put off by it.
Are you flirting with me?
Are you flirting with me? Cross-eyed son of a bitch. But before that, she's like.
They give off a, remember in X-Files, there were those guys, the lone gunmen. Do you remember them?
Yes.
Yeah.
They got their own spinoff.
Yeah. They're very lone gunman-esque.
Yeah, there's a charm to it, like especially when she comes in and she's like, "If the bugs move your guys, does it count?" And he goes, "Of course it counts. How do you play?" Like I fucking love that, like just the obliviousness of it that nobody would not play bug chess.
Bug chess sounds kind of fun, honestly.
Yeah. I would get cheeseburgers and beer with these guys.
And then
I love the way he says that. Do you ever go out for cheeseburgers and beer? Like, that's the weirdest pickup line ever.
That's perfect. It's very clear what he's doing tonight. You want to come or not?
Is this the second time that a dude has propositioned her for cheeseburgers and beer?
No, I was just making the joke earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This
is when it actually happened.
Was that like that would have been so funny if that actually was a thing where all the dudes that like hit on her specifically asked for cheeseburger and beer.
And then he's looking at the cocoon and he's like, a sphingid, maybe a ceratomia. And then Dr. Pilcher's horny. He's the one that asked about the cheeseburgers. And then they find out it's Acherontia styx, a death's head moth from Asia. So it's not even native to the country, much less the area. And so whoever's put this in her mouth, it was deliberately put there and deliberately raised to exist. Like he got the eggs and shit from a foreign country and put it in there. So that thickens the plot.
This is all they need, right? To catch him. To catch Buffalo Bill. Like this is literally all they need, right? Like don't they eventually find him by figuring out who ordered the eggs?
No. I don't remember where the FBI was going, but she was following the trail of
they went to that house that did follow the
400
eggs.
They were 400 miles away.
They were following
Jamie Grant's house or whatever. Yeah, the eggs led them astray.
Yeah.
Whereas Lecter is the reason she found him. Mm-hmm. And so we cut to Bill's moth collection. He's butt ass naked, jamming and sewing, having a good old time. There's a woman screaming in the background in a hole. And that's all we get of Buffalo Bill. It's a brief glimpse.
The bugs upset.
Precious. And then we cut to the news being played. And Senator Ruth Martin's daughter, Catherine Martin, is the woman that was kidnapped, the one that we saw with the love seat and the cast and the whatnot. And the mom is making a plea to Bill.
I know Buffalo. You feel compassion.
Yeah. And then Jodie and her friend, Ardelia are talking about how smart the senator is being by making her daughter a person instead of just an object and trying to appeal to his emotions that way.
And repeating her name a lot specifically.
Yeah. They analyze everything. This was my note here. And then we cut to Dr. Chilton. He's angry at Clarice as she's going back into the hospital. I'm not just some turnkey. He's very full of himself, very egotistical. He wants his name associated with any and all things Hannibal Lecter. It's the best thing that's ever fucking happened to him, right? And then Clarice is telling Lecter that he's being recruited with a deal from the senator and tempted with a 1-week stay on Plum Island once a year. And it's got a good flock of terns there. Terns is like a seagull. And then there's a little pun.
Never heard of terns.
Wordplay. I looked it up because when he uses the wordplay,
It'll be turns for us too.
Yes.
And I'm like, what?
Quid pro quo. Yeah. So a tern is like a seagull. And then he uses the other version of tern. Quid pro quo.
Did you guys get Austin Powers pop in your head there? That yes, squid pro row.
No.
You don't remember that?
No. And then he wants personal facts of hers for every fact about Buffalo Bill that he gives her. And then he asks first for the worst memory that she has, and it's the death of her father. He was shot by burglars. Her mother died very young. So at the age of 10, she had no parents.
You're very frank, Clarice.
Yeah. I would like to know you personally. Not like that. And then he says, he tries to offer some evidence. He's like, was it a large girl, the most recent girl kidnapped? And he guessed that it was a butterfly in her throat. Very interesting, right? And Benjamin had one in his head. So she looked through the decapitated head and from the jar since we last seen her. And there was one in there as well.
How did he know that there was a butterfly?
Because he actually currently, as they're talking now, knows exactly who Buffalo Bill is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, isn't it? I was reading up on this, but I guess in the book, it makes a bigger deal about how Bill is one of his former patients for sure.
Gotcha.
And that's how he knows so much about him.
Well, even in this movie, he says that Benjamin was his patient.
Right.
And that his boyfriend was Bill.
Yeah, but I think in the book, Bill is the patient.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so he talks about the butterfly or the moth being a symbol of change to beauty, right?
Can you imagine you're going to therapy and your therapist sitting on the other end of the room is this vibe? Is Hannibal Lecter like, so tell me about everything you've been doing this weekend. Anything new? Did you talk to your parents about what you feel about them?
Did you
been
just queef?
working
I can
on
smell
your
it.
action items?
I'm going to send you home with some homework for the week.
But it's a symbol of change to beauty. Billy, Buffalo Bill, wants to change. And so he's saying that he's, and again, this is early 90s talk of trans people. And so it made me a little uncomfortable, but I'm not one to speak about, Clarice does say that trans folk aren't typically violent, but he says he's not trans, right? He's close, right? His mother's cousin. Never mind. That's about Clarice. But like he talks about how Bill like ended up thinking he was trans to explain how he was feeling, but he's really not. Yeah. He kind of lost me there, but essentially there is some elements of that to Buffalo Bill. And then he asks for more facts about her. Like, where'd you go live after your mom died? And your dad died. She went to live with her mother's cousin and husband in Montana. Couldn't have been the closest relative. But she stayed there for 2 months on the ranch and then she ran away. And there's a shot right here. I was talking to you off air about this shot where it's her through his cell window, like the pane of glass that's there, and then his reflection right next, like blended into her face for the rest of this scene. It was so fucking good. I lost my mind. And this is when he says he's not a real transsexual. He applied for I'd be shocked if you couldn't find that he applied for sex reassignment surgery and was denied, right? Because he was made a criminal through systemic abuse. And then the whole time, Dr. Chilton is listening, which is key, right? So he heard the whole part about the senator offering him a deal. And then we cut to Buffalo Bill with the iconic, it rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. That whole bit.
But he's like, his voice is all high and effeminate there. And that's what I was talking about before, where it's like he's like putting on this affectation and then drops down into like his real voice and stuff. It's so fucking menacing.
Yeah. But also I noticed for the first time that there is some empathy to him. Like later on in the movie when she's yelling for her mommy, he starts crying.
Yeah.
He's like, put the fucking lotion in the bucket. You're making me sad. You know what I mean? And obviously he loves his dog.
Well, it's almost like he probably has some past trauma with his own mother and it's eliciting some sort of memory on his part. We just don't get to see that much of the backstory.
Well, I get the feeling that he wants and needs her skin, but he hates that he has to hurt her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe. I think there's a book, and I've never read the book. This is just something I came across while I was doing research for the movie. But I feel like in the movie, it explains Bill's upbringing a little bit more. and he did suffer some sort of abuse on the hands of his mother. And so that's why I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I read that.
Well, that's what Hannibal was talking about.
Yeah.
Systemic abuse.
That's what Hannibal be talking about.
He knows what he's talking about. His dog's name is Precious. Of course, some Gollum vibes there as well.
Based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
That dog is precious, though.
And the woman tries to bribe and beg and cry. And then when she asks for her mommy, he gets upset and says, put the fucking lotion back in the bucket.
Put the lotion in the basket.
And then she sees the bloody claw marks on the wall because there's like a light attached to the basket. And the fingernail stuck in the wall.
Dude, that fingernail shot has haunted me since childhood. The fingernails they freak me out.
I cut mine too short today, and it hurts.
Your nails are blue too.
Yeah, that's true.
Weren't the nails blue in this movie?
Well, the ones were sparkly. That's how Clarice knew she was from the town, right? Like not local.
Not local. She's got
she
taste.
puts in some effort.
Yeah. All the other ladies around were, hey.
Clearly she putting in some effort.
She's
trying.
No tramp stamp. That tells me she's from far away from here.
She's got all her teeth.
Clarice is such a Rudy. But anywhoozle, yeah, so he gets the lotion back. Ultimately, she's freaked out. She sees the true gravity of her situation, right? Being a senator's daughter is not going to help you here. Cut back to Dr. Chilton teasing Hannibal, saying that the deal was a lie the whole time. We find out he's actually not lying about that, which I initially think he is, right, when I first saw this movie. And then Hannibal sees the pen haphazardly left upon his cot and starts just moving his gears.
Well, it's because Dr. Chilton, I love that scene. It makes him such a dick bag that he's like laying on Hannibal's cot and Hannibal's like in this fucking like, I don't know, what do you call it? Like a giant cage thing that's like,
he's on like a strap to a dolly.
And
yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Well, but we glossed over it, but while walking her down to Hannibal the first time, there's this great scene where he's showing her, here's why I've told you all the rules that I've told you. Yeah. Once he faked a cardiac arrest, and when the nurse went in to check on him, this is what he did to her. We don't get to see it, but he says we managed to save one of her eyes and kind of reset her jaw.
Also, he ate her tongue.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, oh my God, right?
How long was she in there?
But also the coolest part about that is he says, because they had an EKG hooked up to him because they thought he was having a heart attack. Yeah. His heart rate never raised above 85 during any of that. Yeah. So he doesn't get like nervous or scared or impassioned about these things he does. It's all like 100% calculated. He's like a super villain. Yeah. I almost said hero. I do admire the man. So yeah, he's not one to be fucked with, which is why he's strapped to that. But yeah, it's really rude to lay on somebody's bed. Yeah. You know, he didn't even take his shoes off.
Yeah, for real.
Whenever you say Dr. Chilton, I keep thinking of the Replacements song. Alex Chilton. Do you know that song? Sorry. Look it up. It's a great song.
Banger.
Yeah.
It's a bop?
It's a bop. It's a bop.
So I'm confused about this a little bit. I've seen this like 6 times, but he says he orchestrated a real deal with the senator, right? And I know that to be true.
Yes.
And Hannibal agrees to that, says it's Lewis is his first name. I'll tell you the rest to the senator's face, blah, blah, blah. And whatever, doesn't matter. But he says, we cut to the next scene and it's somebody saying, it's one of the FBI agents, I think, saying that Clarice Starling is very angry and looking for Crawford, implying that like...
No, that was the senator that was angry that they had made a deal, lied about her agreeing to a deal.
At first, I thought it was saying Clarice thought it was a real deal and she was mad. Yeah. But no. Then later, she's like, I was in on it. I lied to you super bad.
I picked the island.
Yeah, it was dope. I thought it'd be nice to pretend. Why
don't we tell him he's got to have a view? There's not even going to be a beach.
Mr. President.
I'm Clarice Starling. I work for the FBI. That's just what I do.
So she's mad, meaning the senator's mad, right? So then he's being transferred to Memphis, Tennessee. And then we see the iconic The Mask, right? With the 3 little bars in the mouth and the eyes and the slicked hair.
I'm glad they gave him a mask and didn't just have his face smushed up against the chicken wire. Yeah.
Well, in retrospect, extra precautions could have been taken.
Hey, hindsight is 2020.
And that's when we meet Lieutenant Boyle, who I've seen in 1,000 movies, and Sergeant Patrick.
That dude who plays Sergeant Boyle can thank the director of this movie for all the movies that you've seen him in.
Oh,
really?
They're all Jonathan Demme movies?
Is this his first?
No, he was actually like a porn actor. And
no way.
Yeah, and
wait. The older man, Lieutenant Boyle?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, I don't know if he was like the talent, but he was in a lot of like sex.
Oh, he was the guy in the background.
He was in a lot of like sexploitation films.
Okay.
And I guess
talent.
I guess Jonathan.
He was a
Demme,
fluffer.
Yeah, he was fluffing. I guess Jonathan Demme liked him and kept putting him in his movies, but all of his movies are pretty like highbrow, and that's why that kind of like kickstarted his or reignited his career.
Isn't he in like fucking Rambo or something as well?
Probably.
He gives me not the general, but one of the guys from Rambo vibes.
Movies, but
yeah, he's got a recognizable face.
Yeah.
But during the scene, Chilton can't find his pen, and then it kind of like zooms in on Hannibal Lecter. Senator Martin waits for Lecter's answer. Incredible exchange, I thought. He's a Lewis friend, right? He was lovers with Raspail. That much is probably true. The Lewis friend part is not. And then she's like, thank you so much. I'll give you whatever you need. Thank you for all your help. And he's did you nurse Catherine yourself? And she's like, not sure where he's going with this yet, even though everyone else is already offended. She's like,
your nipples, didn't it?
when you cut off somebody's limb, they can still feel it tickle, right? So when her little girl is on the slab, where will it tickle you? And then she's upset now. Now she gets it. Yeah. She's being fucked with, right?
Get this monster away from me.
And Senator, love your suit.
Love your suit.
Fabulous.
I think up to this point, we don't know that Buffalo Bill's making a woman's suit. So I feel like that's like subtle.
Oh, good.
Foreshadowing.
Nice. And he does.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's good. Good, Andy. Good.
Can we please get a Devil Wears Prada movie, but Hannibal Lecter is the fashionista?
Only if it's Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Well, yeah, it has to be. It can't be anybody else.
Clarice, the answer's not down at your second-rate shoes. Because she like looks down and he's not even looking at her, but he can like smell that she's looking down. The sweat on the nape of your neck has rolled faster at a velocity I can now tell that you're looking at your shoes. He's like fucking Sherlock. Guy Ritchie style. He's in his mind palace, but it's just a bunch of skeletons and shit. Love the decor. We cut back to Dr. Chilton, loving being in the press. Just a classic doucherino. That's what we call that.
It's Chilton, Chil. Got to spell his name. Got to make sure they know him. Got to make sure they know him.
And then Clarice is trying to get in to see Lecter in his new get up in Tennessee. And the cops at the front are like, whatever. Go see him.
Yeah, go on in. Thank you for your service.
And she's using her notebook to try to find a Lewis friend anagram. So we get to see like a little bit of her homework there.
Yeah. The last anagram, she just showed up like, oh, it was an anagram, huh? And we're like, it was? Okay.
And somebody asks her about Lecter and they don't have a name for what he is. And then they cut to Boyle again, letting her in to see him. And then he says, good evening, Clarice. And she brought him his drawings back, a nice gesture, right? She came of her own accord, not sent by Crawford. And he says, people will say, well, we're in love. And I think he's fucking hilarious. I do. It's just me talking.
You should come back for my tight five at the Apollo.
And he's like, Anthrax Island, because it was a research test site that she had offered to him. And then she says your anagrams are showing, which made me laugh because I thought of
Harry Potter.
No,
I am Lord Voldemort.
Ace Ventura of When Nature Calls, when he's like, your balls are showing.
Bumblebee tuna.
I love how Andy went with an actual anagram and Chris is like, your balls are showing.
Could have went either way with that one.
Love it.
By the way, do you know that Tom Felton is in talks to play Lucius Malfoy in the remake now?
No, but that's amazing.
Right?
Did you guys watch that video I sent you of him jamming to some Harry Potter song?
No.
Dude, it's fire. Anyway, go
Is
on.
he a good jammer?
Dude, he's got pipes and can like shred.
That's what he's been. Well, he's rich and hasn't worked since he was 12.
Right.
He's just been like, he's like little Nicky now.
Yeah. Right, for real.
But yeah, so she says your anagrams are showing. Lewis friend is an anagram for iron sulfide, which is fool's gold, that's fire. Solid anagram. Way to go, Hannibal.
Hannibal
I'm
was
impressed.
like, his first name's Lewis. I'll tell the rest of the senator. He's like, I got to figure out something good.
I got to finish the anagram. I don't have it finished yet. I didn't expect and then he quotes Marcus Aurelius. He's an educated man, if you haven't caught on. What needs does he serve by killing? Talking about Buffalo Bill. And he's coaching in this incredible sequence. He's coaching Clarice through this because she's still training at the academy. And she guesses a couple wrong answers. And he's like, no, he's her greatest teacher, right? That's what I love about this movie, this relationship. No, he covets, right? And then he wants to hear more about why she ran away. And then we get the titular lambs, right? She heard screaming like a child's voice one night late at the ranch. She crept into the barn. She found the lambs screaming. The lambs wouldn't run when she tried to free them, and that was terrifying to her. So she stole one lamb and ran, made it a couple miles carrying this lamb. And the rancher got furious when he found her, and he sent her to live in a Lutheran orphanage in Bozeman, wherever the fuck that is. I'm assuming Montana. And they killed what happened to the lamb? They killed it, right? And yes, she still hears them. She has nightmares about the screaming lambs all the time. Yeah. Well, she said it sounded like a child screaming.
Ah!
Precisely.
Ow.
I picture the goats from like Thor Love and Thunder though. The super funny ones. Some people didn't think they were funny though, to be fair.
They're fucking hilarious.
Thank you.
They're probably the best part of the movie, maybe.
And I love, again, like her little teary eyes during the scene. Like she does such a good job of having the depth of that, because he goes on like, you think saving Catherine will stop them? No, finally stop the screams. And he was like so close to saying, begin the silence of the lambs.
Look at the camera.
But then at the end,
I was always curious why this movie was called Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
And so when they do get to that part, I'm like, oh, okay.
you felt so validated. Did you point at the screen like Leonardo DiCaprio?
No, I didn't feel validated. I was just kind of like, I did not see that being the reason, but okay.
Curveball.
Right on.
So you're telling me there's no lambs?
We're just not a one. Not even a lamb chop.
Not even the goat?
No. There is a lamb chop cooked rare.
Oh.
That's true. Oh, he caught you there.
Because he says, thank you, Clarice. He's very, like, he loves doing that. He loves picking people apart. Like, this is what he likes to taste, right?
Yum, yum, yum.
Psychology.
Did you ever look into like the inspiration for Hannibal Lecter?
I think at one time, but I don't recall at this moment what that yielded.
The writer, because there's a lot of serial killers wrapped up in one with him, right?
Yeah,
so
there's like the Ted
Bundy. You got a little Bundy, you got a little Gacy in there. But the main one was a guy that I've never heard of before, but I guess, what's the writer's name? Thomas Harris?
Yes.
He was like, he was going into like prisons and shit for just to kind of get, some inspiration and stuff. And while he was there, this guy got shivved or something. I don't know. He got injured out in the yard. So they're like, we need a doctor. And so they take him to the infirmary, and this guy patches him up, the doctor that's in there. We come to find out the infirmary doctor is also an inmate.
Huh.
And it's this guy that's in prison for like killing like his partner and mutilating his body, and suspected of killing like several people in the 50s and 60s.
That's
and I guess
wild.
this guy was so articulate and had like he loved wordplay. And because Thomas Harris didn't initially know he was an inmate and was like, oh, here's this like really intellectual dude who's super calm. He likes wordplay. Oh, he's a serial killer?
Yeah.
Like that is like the main idea behind Hannibal Lecter, was this very articulate, smart dude.
Did
who was a
Thomas
doctor.
Harris get shanked?
No. He was just
He
there.
just followed the guy. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
he just happened to be there when this dude got injured and taken to the doctor, who was also an inmate.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like, I can't even pronounce this guy's name. It's like Alfredo Bale Trevino.
You
The
crushed it.
Wolfman of
That
Nuevo
sounds
Leon.
delicious.
Having with some fava beans and a nice Chianti
Empty.
and some Alfredo. So yeah, he thanks her for that. And then he senses the arrival of Dr. Chilton, who's trying to escort her out, like almost violently. He hates that she's there. This is my goodies.
This is my pony.
Exactly. He's mine to trot out.
Jump on it, my pony.
Yeah. Which is weird that song plays. Like Tom Petty was one thing, but wow.
You should get some Genuine. And
Yeah. Genuine out of
Silence of the
nowhere. Genuineness, never out of nowhere. And then he gives her case file back. So she runs back and grabs it. And he says, goodbye, Clarice. And just touches her little fingy, gives her a little fingy pet. And then we cut back to her at the airport, and we cut in between that to Lecter in his cell. He's listening to classical music. He's feeling really good about himself. His second dinner is being brought, right? We've had one dinner, yes.
What about second dinner?
And he requested lamb chops specifically, which is pretty fucking hilarious. Extra rare, also funny.
I do like how the guard's like, this motherfucker requested 2 dinners.
And he's getting it.
He's getting it.
And then he's got metal from the pen that he stole in his mouth. He slips it into his hand. He's cuffed, assuming the position, and what seems like a foolproof way to keep themselves safe, but he picks his lock, and he had everything meticulously set up. That's why he put his drawings everywhere.
Mind the drawings.
So that he would take an extra moment to set the tray on the ground and clear the table. It's chef's kiss. And by the way, there's nowhere to set the food because of that. But then there's a magazine that says Bon Appetit. I thought it was hilarious. And then he's out already. He cuffs the cop, Boyle, to the cage, and then bites Pembry's fucking face, and then maces him for seemingly no reason, just to be a dick, and then beats Boyle.
There.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do this.
And then he beats Boyle with the club. And you see the intentional shot of the tray of food and like salt, and then pans over the body of Boyle. And you can hear Pembry off in the distance, like, man, I don't feel good.
He bit my nose.
This sucks real bad. And then he grabs the knife that's on the ground and says, ready when you are, Sergeant Pembry.
And you can hear that he's like crawling away or something.
Yeah.
But like you never actually see him.
It's so far to the door. He's like not even concerned about it because he's still like jamming to the classical music. The cops that are on the first floor are alerted by the elevator going up, and they're wondering who the fuck's going up there. Then they hear a shot fired on 5.
This scene is so silly to me. They're like,
yes,
3, 5. Like they're just freaking out over the elevators. Like, is that their job to stand there and watch the elevator numbers?
I'm so glad you said this, Andy, because from maybe for the next 5 minutes, this is some police academy shit happening. Like every time these police officers bust through a door, they look fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh constantly. Like 15 dudes, clear, and they're all like just aiming into the ceiling and shit. Like, what are you looking at? And then they're all surprised to see the crucified body of Boyle on the bars. They're like, clear. What is that?
Check your corners, man.
I know.
You clearly already forgot the academy training, Steve.
Corner.
You guys are wild. This sequence is incredible. It's a really good plan that he pulled off.
It's such a good plan.
He put the skin on his face.
It is only the elevator thing that drives me nuts. Just 50 dudes standing around going, fuck.
Oh, the whole thing
it's so silly.
Silly to me. Starting with the fuck, ending with that's Penumbra, whatever his name is. You've known him for 20 years. No, that's clearly Anthony Hopkins. I can tell that.
Pembry. When it looks like that, but when he sits up in the ambulance before he peels it off, it does not look like Anthony Hopkins. It looks like a very mutilated Pembry. You know what I mean? But laying on the ground, you can kind of see his hair.
All the shots before that's Anthony Hopkins clear as day.
But no, I
guessed it.
I didn't even know the twist. Because
you guessed it. Yeah.
I didn't know how he escaped. But immediately when they're like, they're spending a lot of time on this dude, like that's Anthony Hopkins.
But the guy on the elevator,
there's Anthony Hopkins.
Also looked like Anthony Hopkins, the guy on the elevator. I actually think it probably was the actor. You know what I mean? To like to throw you off, because it's like had the same like slicked back receding hairline and everything. And when the body, which was now we know is Pembry missing a face.
I love all of this sequence. I think it's amazing, and strictly just the elevator thing. It does look a lot like Anthony Hopkins. I just wish that they had shown him less, and then it would have been such a good twist. Yeah, and I mean it's still a good twist, but like
showed the cop without the face part.
No. Show less of what is clearly
the
Anthony
body.
Hopkins laying
That's
there.
What I mean.
Yeah.
Show less of that, and show less of the cops checking corners.
There is one scene where they all 5 bust in, and they point in different directions.
How long did it take him to like hang the dude up there and stuff? And like,
well, I think he had all night because where's he gonna go? He's stuck in that cage. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They didn't have time. It's believable to me that there's no cameras because this is like a temporary set up on the fly for the senator. Which is why security is a little weird and wonky too. It's the perfect, and he planned all of this. So like, is my take. But my read on the elevator scene is like, no one goes up there without getting past them, right?
Yeah,
the two guards that are up there are not allowed to leave. That is like their job is to stay up there till 6 the next day.
Yeah.
And so the fact that the one elevator to the most dangerous person in the world is moving is like, what the fuck? And they're all panicking for a very valid reason, is the way I read that.
I get that, but that implies that
they're all
somebody's
like, Bill, did you go up? What's going on, Bill? You know what I mean? Like,
somebody's staring at those numbers the whole time. Like,
what are you going to do? There's only one elevator.
Yeah, I
mean, what floor is it going to? I'm intrigued.
On paper, it is a very good like scene. I just think it's blocked really silly.
There was a couple cop training things,
and I also laughed really loud because they open the elevator door and they look down and they see the quote unquote Hannibal Lecter body on the top of the elevator car.
Yeah, shoot him in the leg.
And like, hey, Lecter, hands behind your head. He ain't doing it. Shoot him in the leg. And then the dude takes out his pistol. It's like,
well, you don't want to miss. That'd be awkward. Yeah. You're getting fired for sure if you blast his head off.
I know. It's
what the fuck, Carl?
I just love like he moved. Well, let's shoot him.
he was coming right for us. You know?
Hey, that's true. I mean, it is the 90s before body cam, so.
So then. Yeah, one in the leg is my note here. So then Clarice is being told of his escape, right? And Ardelia is her friend, and she's basically like, you better fucking be scared, right? And she says, he would never come for me. He would consider that rude. I can't explain it. I love that line. And she's correct about that.
Manners.
Thanks, George. We cut back to briefly Bill sewing some skin, and then Ardelia and Clarice are looking through the case file that Hannibal gave her, and they're talking about things that he said, right? And like almost in awe.
What does he covet?
He said that the pattern was desperately random, as if it's not random at all, right? And then she says, yeah, we covet what we see every day. He knew the first victim, right? And it turns out Bill didn't get lazy, is my understanding. He weighed the first body down, knowing that it would be like the third, fourth, or fifth body they found, and it would be less likely to be traced as his first victim and therefore near him that way, right? Yeah. Which is true. That would have worked, except Hannibal Lecter's too fucking smart. And so, and not to like Clarice, he doesn't give her like super overt clues. She finds them because she's also a genius at this, right? But anywho, they're a good team. So she goes to visit the Bimmel family, the very first victim. And the dad's like, he's talked to like 37 cops about the same shit, his daughter being mutilated and murdered. And he's like, I mean, her room's up there.
I'm over it.
Which one died? Oh, the one that got straight C's. The one that
got straight C's.
The one that still lived here. Oh no, so sad.
I ain't paid for a beer ever since.
Yeah, everybody just buys him beers where he goes. I'm still so sad.
Honestly, it sucks, and I hate to see it, but it's kind of the best thing that ever happened to me.
Honestly, it sucks. You hate to see it. That's funny, Steve. I repeated what you said.
See, it made it funnier because it came out of my mouth.
I was just like marveling at it. And then I realized, I got a job to do. And then she goes to visit the Bimmel family. She finds Polaroids instantly. I don't know how long she was searching the room, but she pretty quickly found some nudies in the music box.
This is what I would do. Well, this is my room, and I took nudes. I put them in my music box.
Oh, yep.
Because no one opens up a music box because they're fucking annoying.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Ooh, but I would not have worn those. And did you hear the birds in the background again? I know that there's birds everywhere in the world, but I also feel like sound design wise, it's intentional. She's a starling. And there's butterfly wallpaper in this same room. And she finds some sewing stuff. Wait.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, she finds some sewing stuff. There's like a whole room where like a seamstress would be.
Yeah, and that's where she sees the patches on the back of that dress that match that victim.
And then she calls Crawford, but
that's when she's like, he's making a suit.
Yeah, Clarice, it's fine. We're fixing to get him. He's not like that, but that'd be funny. And she says, hey, we found him. It's Jamie Gum, aka John Grant. And they traced like the butterfly egg ordering guy's stuff, right? And then you can see, though, I love the way that they do this because she's like, oh, you're going to get him? Oh, okay. Okay. But then like you cut to Crawford and he's holding up a picture. It's clearly not, Levine. Like it's not the actor we've seen as Buffalo Bill. Yeah. So it's like, oh shit, you're definitely not going to get him. And what follows very shortly, not this next scene, not the tuck, is one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema. Sequences.
I would have said the tuck was.
But so we cut to Catherine Martin. She's in there setting the trap for the fucking dog, right? Thanks for the scraps, asshole. Because he fed her something, I guess. And we get the scene while she's trying to lure the dog with the bucket. He's dressing and jamming, putting on a skin suit, right? I'd fuck me so hard. And we get the Goodbye Horses song, right?
Q Lazarus's Goodbye Horses is a jam. All right. I unironically love that
Here's
song.
the thing. When this
scene's playing, I'm also like, oh yeah. I'm feeling myself.
But when you are a musician and you sell your music for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 to a movie studio, that's got to be a great thing, right? Especially, I'm sure Goodbye Horses was a super famous song back then. I don't know. I was 3, so I have no idea. But Now, do they regret that this is what people think? Every single time you hear that song, you think of a dude like tucking his balls and going, I'd fuck me.
I don't know, Chris. Do you regret money?
I mean, if I got a super short-term amount of money that affected my career ever thereafter.
But do you regret the money you get from your song being in one of the greatest movies of all time?
I'm just asking a question.
One of only 3 movies to... win the big five at the Oscars. I'm not saying it's because of the Q Lazarus song, but I'm also saying it's not because of the Q Lazarus. Not because of
it. Yeah. All I'm saying is if I want to play my number 1 hit to my mother and then in the middle of it she goes, I'd fuck me, I'd probably be annoyed.
You'd probably be annoyed because she didn't go to the theater and watch this movie with you.
Yeah, we get the tuck.
Won't you fuck me?
And then
I'd fuck me.
We cut to the police beginning their raid.
Fuck me hard.
And it's intercut between...
Fuck me so fucking hard.
Clarice talking to a woman about Frederica. Hold on. This is the best sequence in cinema.
Sorry.
The police are raiding. Clarice is talking to Frederica's friend. Frederica Bimmel is the first victim, right? And the friend tells her about Mrs. Lipman, right? So she's like, oh, I better go talk to Mrs. Lipman. We cut to Bill playing with moths.
Who is Mrs. Lipman again?
She and the friend used to work together for her.
Yeah, for Mrs. Lipman. Yes. Okay. And that's just casually, she has no confidence in this lead at all. She's just being thorough. I'm going to go talk to Mrs. Lipman, I guess, right? So then Bill's playing with his moths. He's looking for Precious, can't find him. It's intercut with the raid so beautifully because then the police are running up to the house that we think that we're seeing what's happening inside that house, right?
Yeah, the doorbell and shit.
Oh, God, that's what I'm talking about. I love it so much.
So good.
Because she's got Precious and he's like, God damn it, give my dog, you fucking bitch. And then there's like the flower delivery move. And so the guy comes up and then Crawford's like, yeah, I'm hiding back here. You're going to be fine. Ring the doorbell.
Just like how we practice, boys. And a 1, 2, 3.
And then you see the ding dong. And then Bill looks up and sees the bell ringing in the basement, like his little alarm thing he's got going on. And then it happens twice. And then when he opens the door, instead of the delivery man FBI, it's Clarice. Yeah. Plot twist, right? First time you see it.
Yeah.
How'd you feel first time through?
It was fun.
Did it get you?
No, but it was well done.
It's very well done.
Yeah.
So well done.
You knew it was going to be Clarice?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Get him, Andy. Get him. Because she was there to
just because, what would the movie be if they're like, we gotcha, and Clarice just goes to another person's house. Is like, yeah, she used to work for me.
She's a real bitch.
I was glad she died. I buy her dad a drink all the time.
We listen to Goodbye Horses. He does this weird.
Would you fuck me?
Howard. Hard. Okay, we did that already. Not run through that again. How hard?
So fucking hard.
Okay. That clears it right up. Clears it right up.
Is that the only question you had for me?
Excuse me, we're just canvassing the neighborhood. We wanted to ask.
we got a poll going. Would you fuck me? Second question is, how hard?
Think you'll dissect me with these blunt instruments?
And then Jack hears that the house is empty, right? Or learns that the house is empty. Jack Crawford. And he's like, oh shit, Clarice, which kind of a weird logic leap on his part. I didn't understand at that moment why he was so worried about her. Clarice. I just sense it. Yeah. And then we get this
canvassing.
Yeah. We get this chilling in a discussion between Buffalo Bill and Clarice, but it's so eerie because we know what's going on and that he's not a good guy. And she just kind of like gets creeped out by it. She's like, okay, because he says some weird.
She a big fatty?
Yeah. Was she a real fat person? And then Lippman. He's like, oh, Lippman had a son. Let me get you one of his business cards. If you have any more questions for him. And it seems innocuous enough, but also it's like you're being extra creepy for no reason. You could have done that better. He's just like, it's just like the weirdest thing. Like, are you hungry? Do you want something to drink? That's something normal to say. But like his version of that would be like, I got some white cheddar Cheez-Its. They're a little stale and I dropped them on the floor, but you can have 4 of them. Like that's his version of trying to play it cool.
Be cool, Bill. Be cool. Don't let her see your weakness, Bill. Be cool.
Oh, fuck. My wiener's still tucked. Hope she doesn't notice.
Would you fuck me? Oh, shit. Damn it. Damn it, Bill. I said be cool. When you watch Lord of the Rings, is that a moth or a butterfly?
That's a deep cut, my friend.
I like to think it was a moth.
It's definitely a butterfly. Duh. So she looks around and she sees a butterfly photo over her shoulder. And she looks at the fucking moth that's flying around, looks over at the sewing thread, right? It's not looking good. And she when he's not looking, unclips her gun. And then she's like terrified, trying to keep her cool. Very good, Mr. Gordon. May I use your phone, please? And he's like, he knows that the jig is up in that moment, right? He's just like almost starts to cry, like, oh. Sure. I love phones.
What's your favorite kind of phone?
Yeah, Staller.
I like a rotary.
And then he just runs downstairs. Oh, he's got like a massive house. Like he must have dug out like 6 extra stories. It's so weird. And she creeps after him, terrified. And I love that this is 1991. There's no cell phones or anything, or at least not common.
Yeah.
So she can't just like call for backup immediately. It's extra scary. Like she has no knowledge that any of her partners know where she is, but she also can't let him go. So she's got to go for it. And what follows, I think, is a masterclass in horror out of nowhere, terrifying sequence. It might not have worked for you, but the whole just her slowly creeping through this like, almost House of a Thousand Corpses level, like dirty, creepy bullshit place. Like she just runs into like the skin suit at one point and like Polaroids of him with strippers, and then finds the victim.
Those are friends.
Yeah. It's my
we
sister.
were having a really good time. All of us were. Everyone's saying it.
And then they fucked me.
And then
hard.
She finds the victim, but she's unable to rescue her because she knows and she's like, shut the fuck up, please.
And I love how realistic the victim is. Don't fucking leave me here, you bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. She's terrified. Like, no. This is my one way out. And then again, true to every other time that she's done this throughout the movie, she screams for him to hear, but ostensibly to her. The other officers will be here any minute. Right? Even though that is not true, 100%, right? So in case he can hear her. And she finds the map of the U.S. where he was looking at the rivers. I love it. I love it so much, right?
I love kayaking.
Catherine, shut that dog up. That dog sucks so bad. I know. I heard it.
We became unlikely friends.
I know. I love that at the end.
She hurt the dog, and now I kind of want her to die. But
maybe she was lying about that.
Well, I think the dog got hurt falling into the well.
Well, that's what she said. But is that true?
That's true.
She's an unreliable narrator of events at that point. She wanted the guy to be upset.
Maybe she heard it emotionally.
Yeah, maybe.
She was like, hey, you're not precious at all. You were shit.
Pretend to be hurt. Here
you're a cat.
I'll get you out of here. He's going to wear you one day for socks. I know it.
Slippers.
But then he runs into a dead woman in the tub, or she runs into.
Who was that?
I was going to ask you guys, who do you think that is? Is that Mrs. Lippman?
I'm going to assume that that's like his mother or something. I don't know. But I have no clue.
So what is the connection between him?
Mrs. Lippman makes sense.
So what is the connection specifically to him, Mrs. Lippman, and his first victim that was in the river? Like, what exactly is that connection that he has to them?
I'm thinking they hung out and they sewed, and he was part of that like sewing crew. I don't know what his connection to Mrs. Lippman is. But I think he killed her. I think that's who's in the tub. And that house is still registered to her.
Okay. Okay.
That's my guess.
All right.
I guess. Maybe he's like Mrs.
Probably clearer
Maybe
in the book.
he is Mrs. Lippman's son. When he was like, she had a son. Let me go get his card.
Oh, that's true. He killed his own mother,
what's
Hitchcock style.
Yeah, that was that psycho guy's name. Yeah. I can't remember his name.
Could be a Bateman.
Yeah.
Bateman, yeah.
Or Norman Bates. Is it Norman Bates?
Bates, yes.
Bates Motel, yes.
Bateman is Patrick Bateman. It's a whole different thing. Whole different thing.
That's the American Psycho.
Look at this business card. That's the business card reference. Oh my God.
That's Bone.
What font
Oh my
is this?
gosh. Can a patron please ask us to do American Psycho? That'd be
I'm
great.
sure they will, buddy. That's coming down the pipeline.
Oh, Walter.
What band is that?
Huey
Lewis in the News. That's
Got
right.
to be squared. Christian Bale doing that little dance in the raincoat. Are you wearing a fucking raincoat? I am, Walter.
And then we get the night vision scene again, which I think is classic.
Some of the scariest fucking shit ever. He's
scary.
like reaching out, like touching her hair and shit. Oh, that's so fucked up.
Do you run through dark? You don't like?
No, nobody runs through dark.
I'm saying like if you're going like when you were a kid, like when you want to check the basement, and your mom puts you to grab something, and you're like, because it's dark, you're like, there's got to be something in there.
Now they're gonna get
you.
And that's why this is so terrifying, because you know she can't see shit, and you know because it's his POV, he's literally right there. Like,
gotcha.
I'll smell you.
This is one of those scenes that I think would be way more effective if I was not in filmmaking, because the night vision scenes, they're casting shadows in all of
really?
it. Yeah. So she's casting a shadow on the wall. When he raises his gun up at her, he's casting a shadow on her back. So the light source is directly behind him. And so it's like, that's not I'm a long way to say
that ain't real dark.
That's not real dark. Like they're filming in light and just have like a green filter over it. So that's the pedantic film person in me. That's like, wow, this isn't dark.
Yeah. That's God love you.
I know. No, it's my fault.
That's too much.
That's my fault for sure.
That's the equivalent of watching Lord of the Rings and being like,
elves aren't real.
Magic's not real.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're going to have
He's
a night
just
vision scene.
slinging his staff at him and he's flying around the room. I mean, use a fireball, am I right?
You could actually
all
only
know
have
how-
like 20 arrows in a quiver.
We all know how a real wizard battle would go down. It's not like that. No, that's why I'm the asshole here, for sure.
Never. But he gets cocky. And she hears that. She turns and fires 4 or 5 times. I love this. And she shoots out the blacked out window at the same time that she's shooting him, which allows the light to come in. I don't know. I just think it's the great
showing some light on the
release of
situation.
tension. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's a good way to like transition the scene. Into
Yeah,
like,
now it's over. Yeah. Ooh, Nux. I just think it's fucking brilliant. So then Catherine saved Precious as well.
Aw.
She's still cuddling her when they come out.
I hope she adopts Precious.
I think she does.
She was keeping her. That was cute.
My head canon.
Take care of my dog, please.
So then Clarice Starling is made an official FBI agent. Those shoulder pads from the early 90s. Am I right?
baby.
Woo, those were fire.
Did you like that FBI cake?
Yeah.
With like the seal, and they just cut into it.
Welcome. And there's a phone call for her as she's talking, getting congratulated. And then she says, thank you to Mr. Crawford in that awkward scene we were talking about earlier.
Weird close up of their hand shaking.
Yeah. Mutual respect, I guess. And then it's Lecter that's on the phone. And he says, have the lamb stopped screaming? And, well, she's kind of happy to talk to him, I think, a little bit, but at the same time, like, oh shit. And he's like, hey, I'm not going to come for you. That would be rude, just as she suspected, but I want the same courtesy extended to me. And she's like, I can't promise that. I'm a cop. I'm an FBI, whatever I am. Would you fuck me? And then he says, I would.
The end.
He doesn't.
With a nice Chianti.
And then he sees Dr. Chilton getting off a plane. He's in like Costa Rica or something, who's very scared, trying to hide from him. He's on the lamb.
Ooh.
And he says, I'm having an old friend for dinner.
Yum, yum, yum.
He's going to eat
Was
him,
he
Steve.
scared? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he's talking to the guy about raising the security. And the guy's like, it's going to be okay.
Oh, okay.
He says something about raising the security.
He knows he's a wanted man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
His petty torments went too far with the
Too
good
far.
doctor.
Gotcha.
It's Dr. Chilton.
And then you get the title card, Hannibal Lecter will return.
Yes.
Red Dragon.
Well, there is
Hannibal.
an actual direct Hannibal sequel called Hannibal. You silly. Red Dragon's a prequel, is it not?
There are 4 or 5 Hannibal movies.
There's Hannibal Rising, which I don't
Yeah.
remember much about.
I think there's like 6. So like there's Manhunter, which doesn't actually like
That's with
people
Brian
forget
Cox.
about.
Yeah, that was before this.
Yeah, and then there's
have you guys
Silence
seen
of
that
the
one?
Lambs.
Yes.
Is Brian Cox good as Hannibal? Because I really like Brian Cox.
Hannibal,
very
Red
good.
Dragon, Hannibal Rising.
It's a Michael Mann movie.
I think that's it.
Nice.
Which is the one with what's her name? She's gorgeous. She's in a bunch of stuff. Red-haired acting queen.
Red-haired acting
It's not
queen.
Jodie Foster. It's
Sigourney Weaver.
no. It sounds like that. Oh my God, she's a very famous actress.
Is she in The Big Lebowski?
Yes,
Oh, what is her name? Jesus.
she's in Chloe.
Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore. Thank you. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. We both were like, I'm kind of disappointed in myself for
Yeah.
not picking up on Julianne Moore. She's a legend.
Isn't
Yes,
She's the one that's in Hannibal,
She's in
right?
Hannibal. Yeah.
Yeah. She plays Clarice in Hannibal.
Hello, Clarice.
So did you
You're
know,
different.
like, we probably won't see these 2 characters on screen for a while. Clarice and Hannibal Lecter.
Wow.
Because the rights to each character are owned by different production companies now.
Oh, interesting.
So like one production company owns the rights to Hannibal. That's why Clarice was never like shown in the TV show.
Wow.
And Clarice, the character of Clarice Starling, is owned by a completely different company, and that's why they got
the shitty end of that deal.
Well, there was a Clarice Starling TV show not
There
too long
was.
ago, but they didn't make any mention of Hannibal in that show
they
because
couldn't.
they couldn't.
I hate when that fucking shit happens.
Yeah,
It's
really
like the
unfortunate.
X-Men and Marvel stuff, and it just ruins it for consumers and nerds.
Yeah.
There is a True Detective season 4 coming out soon. That's kind of spinning off, and it's not even called True Detective season 4, but that's what it is. And it's got Jodie Foster, and I'm super hyped for it. Super hyped for it. But yeah, I love this movie. It's one of my all-time favorites. Steve, I'm glad you liked it, and I'm glad to have your acumen here to discuss some of the things. I'd never watched it again with the critical eye that I did today. It was super fun to try to like analyze it in that way. But when I was like, last time I saw it, I was probably 15, and I was like, dang, get the dick and the balls back there like that. You know what I mean? That's how I watched it. So it was nice. It was nice.
You know what the best part about this was?
Andy was back.
Andy was back.
It was awesome.
Guys.
Andy, how did it feel to be back?
It felt good, man. It's like riding a bike.
How does it feel to be here 2 hours later than the projected time? Again.
It feels normal. I showed up.
Mike.
I showed up on time for the first time, like ever. It's like, be here at 7. I was here like the church outside. The bells are ringing, and I'm like, I am on time. And then they come in. It's like they're still recording.
And you looked at your phone.
And
Fuck.
then I saw the text from Steve, like, "Hey man, can you push it back?" And I was like, "All right, that's fine. That's fine."
Classic. Wouldn't be streaming things without it.
It would not. But hey, thanks for hopping
Yeah,
on. I know Aaron Layton's going to really appreciate you hopping on for this episode.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm happy to jump back occasionally. It's fun stuff. I miss it.
Good to have you here, buddy. I love you.
Love you too.
That's all the time we have for right now. I hope you enjoyed that. And my name is Chris.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Streaming Things. Happy streaming. Would you fuck me?
Oh, it's April Fools, everybody. Just kidding. That was a couple days ago. But in the month of April, we've got some new patrons we want to give a shout out to because they are keeping the lights on for us over here at Streaming Things, as well as many of you who have been patrons for a very long time. So let's welcome these newcomers into our family. Our first one isn't technically new, but he did upgrade his tier to the highest tier possible of the K-Stu patron saint of Streaming Things, and that is Stanton Valentino. So thank you so much, Stanton. We also want to welcome our brand new Try Before You Deny producers, Wendy O'Laughlin, Jason Hawkins, and Matthew Amerson. Thank you, guys. Brand new to the Marty B VIP section, we have Aubrey Carell, Tyler Ashby, Alan Tomlinson, Kate Lampy, Joey Stewart, Taryn Sayre, Jesse Lay, Kashunya, Luke Dixon, Lena Anderson, and Huang Lei. Thank you guys so much. And our chocolate pudding producer sections, we got some brand newcomers. We got Crystal Wheatley, Katie, Anna Javinjo, I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong. Thank you to Bailey Patterson, Abby Christine Creations, Aaron, Bradley, California, Alex the Average. I think you could be pretty great, Alex, not going to lie. Lauren Daly, Sarah Podber, Richard Humphrey, Sarah Rowe, Chris Williams, Stephanie, Jose Presidio. I'm pronouncing that way wrong. I'm so sorry, Jose. Melanie Dame, Katie G, Wade, Huggy Loaf. I love that name, Huggy Loaf. And of course, the upside down Canuck. What is an upside down Canuck? Is that like a mean Canadian? I don't know. And finally, our Friends Don't Lie producers. We can't leave them hanging. We got to thank them as well. So thank you so much to Austin Sylvie, Sahiba, and Zaray Penna. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support the show. We can't do it without you, and I hope you keep enjoying these episodes.